Hi guys, Tish here. Today you join me in Cannes, France, but it's not to take a look at a French product, nor is it to take a look at a product I've ever had on the channel before. It's to take a look at a new product into Europe. This is the Cadillac LYRIQ. It's a massive electric SUV with a 102 kilowatt hour battery and a range of around 350 miles. But as the Americans say, is bigger always better? Well, hopefully that's what I'm going to find out in today's video. So if that sounds good, then please keep watching. And if you do like new car reviews and car content, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button. In 2017, the American giant General Motors, who own Cadillac, withdrew from mainland Europe and UK after selling Opel and Vauxhall to the PSA Group, whom have since been swallowed by Stellantis. They retained only a limited import operation for the Cadillac and Chevy Corvette. However, in 2021 they established a new European arm based in Zurich, Switzerland. Since then, they've been actively preparing to make a comeback with a lineup of all-electric cars. The company have already been selling the LYRIQ in Switzerland since October and has plans to expand to 5 more countries, starting with Sweden and France, then Germany. There's currently no confirmed date for the UK, but it has been rumoured to be before the end of 2025. So as I mentioned, when we arrived here to take a look at this car, I was expecting it to be a baby SUV, probably because everything I take a look at nowadays is. But it's absolutely huge. This is just slightly longer than a BMW X5, and it's actually around the same size as a BMW iX, so we're talking a big car. But I think it hides its size pretty well. It's quite a stylish looking model. Whether it hides its weight well on the roads, that's what I'll find out later on in this video. But in terms of styling, it has a very dynamic front to it. A lot of focus has gone into this front. You've got this fantastic blanked off grille, which actually for the US is lit up. But of course, Europe like to ruin all the fun, and at the moment it's not allowed to be illuminated, but hopefully it will later on. You've got some very cool headlamps, and I'll just show you by unlocking the car. So as we unlock, you've got the very slim indicator lights here, and then down the sides of the car, you have got your headlamps. So as you see, they illuminate. They look very special. It's a very nice lighting signature. Now, you may be wondering, Tish, you've mentioned how far it goes, you've mentioned the battery, but what about the price? These are important things. Well, this is a luxury SUV, and that's exactly how Cadillac want you to see it. And that means it comes with a luxury price tag. In the Swiss market, it's currently on sale for just over 84,000 Swiss francs. That works out at around £74,000 sterling, which prices it bang on the money for a similar specification BMW iX, which is clearly the market they're chasing. Around the back and the wheels give me a little bit of a Toyota BZ4X feel. It's very sharp in its styling, and I really like that. You've again got some really cool lighting signatures. So if I unlock it, you'll get these flashing indicator lights. Now, these indicators are crazy. I don't know if I've ever seen this on any car. So these actually completely hug the edges of the vehicle. Very, very different. And the brake lights are pretty unique as well. So the brake lights sit horizontal on either side of the car. And there's also an additional one just underneath the spoiler, which sits in the centre. Now, this one's very F1 inspired, but I actually really like the rear of this car. And I also like the way that it almost mirrors the badge. So you've got it coming into this sharp edge. You unlock the boot by pressing in on the Cadillac badge. Inside the boot, you'll find a vast 793 litres. That beats the likes of the Volvo EX90 with 665, the Audi Q8 e-tron with 660, and the Mercedes EQS SUV with 645. But it still can't quite beat the ginormous 971 litres that are found in the Tesla Model Y. There also isn't a frunk like in the Y. However, Cadillac defended this by saying buyers didn't really use the underbonnet storage, and instead they moved some electric bits and bobs from under the boot to in the bonnet, and that added a bit of deep underfloor storage instead inside the boot. The rear is also a really lovely place to be. I would say it's missing some special elements, which I'll talk about in a moment. But in terms of what you do get, you've got 2 ISOFIX fitments on either side. You've got electric windows. You've also got rear climate, and you've got heated seats in the back. You've got 2 USB fitments, and you've also got a plug socket. Although I'm not quite sure which plug socket is going to get. Let's hope that, of course, it gets a UK one. This armrest pulls down to have 2 cup holders, but here's where I feel like it could go above and beyond. It doesn't have any nice functions like you get in the new Tiguan, where you've got a pop-out iPad holder, for instance. You have got seats pockets, but there's nowhere to put your mobile phone. It would be nice if there was a little pocket for your mobile. I really am being very picky because it's a very nice place to be. It just could have been a tiny bit more thoughtful. I have to apologise for getting excited and slightly over-exaggerating by rounding up at the beginning of the video. The quoted range for this 4-wheel drive LYRIQ is 530 kilometres, or 329.3 miles, which seems a decent offering for this class. Being American, they were also hardly going to launch a car that was slow. It packs a punch to the tune of 528 horsepower. Charging is also very competitive, so if you find a charger quick enough, it can access rates of up to 190 kilowatts, which is pretty average for this class of car. And let's face it, finding anything over 150 in the UK is pretty tricky anyway. You unlock by pressing on the Cadillac badge, and it will release, although a little bit jaggedly, this charging port. And then inside here, you will find the standard chargers that you need for your public charging and also your home charging. And then you just press this button to pop it back up. Yes, it could have slightly better charging speeds. It could be like a Genesis, where it can accept up to 350. But I think for the everyday driver, this is more than acceptable. As I mentioned, I have watched a few reviews from the US, and when it comes to the driving experience, I have to say I echo a lot of those thoughts. It is so refined and so quiet and so comfortable. They really have put a lot of engineering into making this car a very serene car to drive. There's a lot of soundproofing which has gone into it, which means it's very quiet. A lot of the road noise is kept out, and it definitely translates to a car which is enjoyable to drive. But is it engaging? Because for us with twisty roads in Europe, that's quite important. And my main problem is the size. This thing is absolutely massive. It feels really wide, and it's like saying, would you enjoy throwing a BMW iX around the back roads? Probably not, because it is just such a large car, and it doesn't particularly hide its weight well, and it's exactly the same with this. You can chuck this around and it handles it to an extent, but of course you are going to feel some roll from that weight. But that's not really what you're going to be doing with this car. I do see this car as an executive SUV. This is for people who want to drive slowly, but to have that instant power if and when they need it. Now, I've been chatting to the designers and the people who are developing this car, and they're not sure whether Europe is going to want a rear-wheel drive or a four-wheel drive. And my personal experience when it comes to executive SUVs for the UK market is we would possibly want a slightly more affordable rear-wheel drive option. But let me know, would you want the high-powered all-wheel drive, or would you like a slightly more affordable rear-wheel? Interestingly, when I was doing my research for this car, I watched Doug's video on an early spec car from the US. And one of the things that everybody hated was the door handles. It had this weird press to release door handle where it actually didn't come out. It kind of was supposed to be a door handle, but didn't actually work like one. And loads of people said, that's just overcomplicating something which is so simple. Well, Cadillac listened, although it was also because they were freezing over in winter. But now, when you press the unlock, it actually physically releases a door handle that you can use as a handle. And this means you're not going to get sticky prints all over the doors. Right, now that's all the exterior, and I've saved the best till last. Let me show you the interior. I have to admit, I'm absolutely smitten by this interior. I really didn't think I'd like it that much, but I've been really enjoying the perfect blend of premium, but also a little bit old school. It instantly made me think of a Genesis as soon as I saw this car. And I even asked the chief designer, has anybody at Genesis come and had a little word with Cadillac? And they haven't, but I think it's just that idea that a car doesn't have to be super futuristic to be electric and to be modern, and they've got it so right. So if I just start this car up, got this massive 33-inch sweeping screen. Now, what I love about this screen is this side is actually all of your functions. You'll see your map and various other things. And then you've got all of your settings, Apple CarPlay, and then various other usual functions like your charging, changing your ambient lighting. But I also love the fact that on this screen, you can also change your digital instrument cluster using some of these functions down the left-hand side, which are also a touchscreen. And I think that's so easy because I always find with new cars, I get in them and I'm constantly trying to find how to change everything. And my digital instrument cluster is often one of those things. And usually I'm playing around with the buttons on the steering wheel and it's really confusing. So to have that touchscreen down the left-hand side, I think that's brilliant. It's very intuitively laid out. Everything is very driver focused. And can we have a round of applause? We've got some actual physical climate control dials, something that I wasn't expecting to see in an American product. I really thought they'd be going all in the complete touchscreen. So I love that we've got these physical dials. You've of course got some also physical buttons here, which are just great. Now, that's everything that I really love. And something else that I love, and it's going to move on to something I'm not too sure about, is I love this colour on the interior. So this is called Juniper Berry, and it really changes depending on the light that you're in. Sometimes it can look black, and then other times, like now when you've got a bit of sunshine, it's got a green tinge to it. Now, there's something I don't like when it comes to the colourway, and that can be found in here. So inside this extra storage compartment, you have got some very garishly blue leather. It seems like a weird choice, and I did ask the designer about this, and they said that the explanation was that that is the blue of the berries of the juniper, and then the leather is the green of the leaf. Yeah, I know. I was really thinking there was going to be a reason why they'd use this royal blue, because personally, I think it cheapens what is otherwise an absolutely beautiful, very elegant cabin. I love all the contrasting white piping and white stitching. It's really lovely. And then this center console. So once again, this very much reminds me of Genesis. So you've got these textured cup holders around here, and you've got this lovely control for the touchscreen. We've got touchscreen controls, Cadillac floating in it. That really reminds me of the Genesis one. And then one of my favourite functions is in these cup holders. So in the middle of these cup holders, if you press this in, you get a little section in the middle. Now, what this is for is if you're using a coffee cup which has a handle, it makes way for the handle, which I think is so cool. You've got your usual storage in the center console. You've got a section for your wireless charging, and then underneath, you've got some additional storage for things like handbags and other things that you want to tuck out of the way. Now, it's not absolutely perfect in here, and some of the controls are a little bit fiddly. The touchscreen is a little bit laggy, but do you know what? I really think it is a very nice place to spend time. Once again, it has been really interesting to drive a product which feels unfamiliar, and that's something that I don't say very much anymore, because a lot of cars are copy and pastes of other vehicles, even when it comes to brands that aren't directly related. For instance, with Kia and Hyundai, they still feel the same because they do share some DNA. So driving a car which shares no DNA with anything that I've driven before is really interesting. And there's been new quirks and things to surprise me. For one, we've been talking about the driver aid systems. So at the moment, they are quite sensitive, and maybe this is something in the future they'll look at and they'll dial down. But it has this very strange little vibration through your bum when something stops in front of you, perhaps when your rear cross traffic alert goes off. If something's pulling out behind you, you get a little vibration in your bum cheeks. And when you don't know it's coming, it can be a bit of a shock at first. And we had a bit of a giggle because it did take me by surprise. But it is just to keep you alert. Whether I like it or not, I haven't quite decided. Sometimes it will just vibrate your bum and you have no idea what set it off. And then you're kind of looking around trying to work out, what did you actually do to warrant that little vibration? I do think this is something you can likely turn off, and maybe I'd turn it off until I'm at least used to the car. But in terms of driver assist systems, they're pretty good. You've got everything you could need. So you have got your rear cross traffic alert, you've got your blind spot sensors, you've also got your lane assist, all of that really, well, good stuff. Depends on how you feel about driver assist systems. But of course, they are here to keep us safe. And in fact, Cadillac were talking about how it's been interesting developing this car with all the European standards. Because of course, in Europe, we do demand now extremely safe cars. So they had to really add a lot of systems to get it through. It does have the Cadillac adaptive cruise control. But when it's in America, they call it Super Cruise because, of course, they're allowed to have a semi-autonomous drive. This is not yet legal in Europe, but I really hope this is something which will roll out. So the car is fitted with it, it's ready to go, but it's not yet turned on. I have heard from people that have driven this car in America that it's one of the best semi-autonomous systems. Of course, I'm just scratching the surface of a car which seemingly has a lot to offer. It appears that everything from the laser-cut wooden door inserts to the 19-speaker AKG sound system has been thought out to offer a really compelling package against premium established rivals. But that's exactly it. Once established, Cadillac now plans to try and sell direct to customers, cutting out the dealer. The warranty package will cover the car for 4 years or 100,000 kilometres, and the battery for 8 years or 160,000 kilometres. But it begs the question, who will be able to carry out this work within the UK? Answer that with confidence, Cadillac, and this becomes a car that I'll proudly recommend. It's been really interesting testing a product which comes from a new pool of manufacturer, something that I'm not used to. This car has loads of new quirks that we're not seeing in other manufacturers, and I really like that. I do think that they've taken the time to think about their audience and think about making their life easier with the Cadillac LYRIQ. But let me know, what do you think of this car? Let me know all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below. If you have enjoyed it, as always, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see more, then you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Until next time, guys, see you later.